Hello everybody, welcome to Totally Forkable, and welcome to a video that could be a huge success or a massive failure. Today I'm going to be attempting to make a vegan cheese fondue from this book, Artisan Vegan Cheese by Mikoyo. She has a very successful vegan cheese and butter company. Basically, she is a vegan cheese whiz. So I bought this cookbook exactly a year ago. I like to cook. I think I'm a pretty good cook, but like, this book is really daunting. I don't know if you guys grew up eating cheese fondue. My parents were fondue lovers, and we were never like a meat fondue family. We were always a cheese fondue family, and I used to love cheese fondue. And if anyone watching is vegan or has ever thought about going vegan, there's certain foods that when you think about going vegan, you go, ooh, but I could never give up that. Honestly, cheese fondue was a big thing for me that I was like, I'm really gonna miss that. If I were able to make a cheese fondue that tastes anywhere near as delicious as what I used to eat growing up, I would be so happy. Now, what is so daunting about this book, you ask? So to make pretty much all the cheeses in this book, you have to make something called a Rejuvelac, which I know sounds like a really fancy, expensive anti-aging serum. It's not. An easily made fermented beverage filled with probiotics and lactic acid. Rejuvelac is the primary culturing agent for many of the cheeses in this book. Depending on the temperature in your house, you'll need to allow 4 to 7 days for the Rejuvelac to be fully cultured. It doesn't seem that complicated, but there's so many steps involved and it takes a lot of time. So like, I'm literally going to start this process today, but it's probably gonna be a good week until I actually make the cheese fondue. But don't worry, I'm gonna like edit it all together so it seems like it's the same day. According to her, all you need is 1 cup of whole grains. So you can use brown rice, millet, oat groats, quinoa, rye berries, wheat berries, or a combination. And then at the bottom, she says quinoa is one of the fastest and easiest grains to use for this recipe, as it often sprouts in less than a day, depending on the ambient temperature. So obviously I'm using quinoa because she said that was the easiest. The first step is that you have to soak and sprout the grains. I've never sprouted anything before, have I? I feel like if I've sprouted anything, it's been like unintentional. Put the grains in a 1-quart glass jar and add water to cover. Drain, then add just enough water to moisten the grains, but not so much that they are immersed in water. Put the jar in a warm place out of direct sunlight for 1 to 3 days and rinse the grains once or twice a day, each time draining well and then adding just enough fresh water to, do you see what I mean? Drain it and rinse it and then put it again, but then don't put too much water, but then put enough water that it's like, what? Let's just go like one thing at a time. 1 cup of quinoa in a 1-quart glass jar. Okay, so I'm gonna measure 1 cup of quinoa into my jar. Ooh. More, you know. Okay. Place a double layer of cheesecloth over the mouth of the jar. Get it? Cheesecloth. I'm not sure if that's too much water, not enough water. Like, it's like floating weirdly. This is like such a funny cheesecloth, but this is what we're gonna use. That's all I'm doing for right now. Let the grains soak for 8 to 12 hours. Okay, well, that's step 1, folks, step 1. Super fun thing I got myself involved in. See you in a day. Okay, so it's day 2 of this whole crazy process. My quinoa seems to have expanded slightly overnight. I feel like the level is up much higher from what it was yesterday. So they definitely absorbed a lot of the water. Drain, then add just enough water to moisten the grains, but not so much that they are immersed in water. Not so much that they're immersed. Okay, so I'm gonna drain whatever water's in here. Just enough water to moisten the grains, but not so much that I keep reading that sentence over and over again. It's so confusing to me. Just enough water that they are to moisten them, but not so much that they are immersed. I feel like that's like a riddle or something. Okay, so here we go. Gonna add just enough water to moisten, but not so much to immerse. Do it like this. Ooh. Okay, see the problem is I added the water, but it's all like staying on top here. I wonder if I should use a knife or something and just kind of break them apart. Let me. They seem to be moistened. God, it's so hard to tell. I'll do a little bit more. Okay, I think that's good. I mean, now they look kind of immersed. To dip or submerge in a liquid. Submerged is like submerged, like it's under the water. So that means the water would be coming up over it and it's not here. So I think we're good. I am gonna put this probably just in a cabinet somewhere in the kitchen and I will check on them tomorrow. So I'll see you then. Okay, so it's day 3 of the Rejuvelac / fondue making process, and Paul has concurred that these look like they have sprouted. There are little tails that have emerged. So now the next step is we are going to divide the grains evenly between 2 1-quart jars. So first I'm gonna rinse, drain and rinse these as my first step. Now I'm going to divide them evenly between the 2-quart jars. Pour 3 cups of filtered water into each jar. Ooh, pretty much fills it all the way to the top. Cover each jar with fresh cheesecloth and secure it with rubber bands. So there's one, and I am actually using the same cheesecloth that I used before. Now we are going to put the jars in a warm place out of direct sunlight for 1 to 3 days and wait for the water to turn cloudy and white and have a slightly tart flavor, somewhat like lemon juice. I feel like it already is cloudy and white. Oh God. In the meantime, I'm going to make sure that I have all of the ingredients for this. See you tomorrow.
You look cute. Yeah, you need an apron. Red?
Yeah.
Just want to see how I'll be looking on camera too. Okay. Is it recording?
Yeah.
Fuck. How am I gonna use that? Shit.
We are finally on fondue making day. So exciting. Yesterday I did get the Rejuvelac, strained it from the quinoa, it was ready, so I just put it in here. There's actually more of it in the fridge too. I have already torn up some sourdough bread. I find for fondue I like hand torn bread better than cut. And I also blanched some broccoli florets. I didn't want to have raw broccoli because it's kind of hard to chew and it's like harder to digest, but I also didn't want it to be too soft, so I didn't want to like cook it all the way through. So I blanched it, meaning I just poured boiling hot water over it in a strainer in the sink, and that cooks it a little bit, but not so much that it gets like soft and falling apart. And then I also cut up some Granny Smith apples because Granny Smith apples go really well with cheese fondue. We're at the point where we're making the soft Gruyere. Basically, you make the soft Gruyere and then you add a few more things to make it into the fondue. I have my cashews here and they were soaking today for probably like 5 hours. We also need 2 tablespoons of nutritional yeast flakes. 1, 2. Coconut oil. The Rejuvelac, so how much do we need? A 1/2 cup. There we go. 1 tablespoon of the miso. So she says 1 to 2 tablespoons. I am going to just add 1 for now. I'm gonna add that in. It says a teaspoon of salt. I never measure salt. Maybe I'll try and measure it. See if this works. My hand's getting tired. Okay, see, if I had just like eyeballed this in, I probably would have done like 10 squeezes, and I've done probably like 50 squeezes now, and it's not even close to the top. I think that's enough. 1/2 teaspoon of xanthan gum. Xanthan gum, as I understand it, is a thickener, or is a binding agent. So makes sense why we would be adding that in. And then tapioca starch is a thickener. So in the last step, you add the tapioca starch to thicken the fondue. Process until smooth and creamy, occasionally stopping to scrape down the blender jar and move the mixture toward the blades. Here, just in case you don't know, Gruyere is like a Swiss. It's like kind of a fancier Swiss. Usually in fondue you would use Gruyere and Emmentaler, I think is how you say it. So far so good. It's getting smooth and creamy. Okay, I'm just gonna add a little bit more miso. It's really salty, but I feel like it's missing a little bit of like a depth of flavor, which the miso will definitely bring out. Alright, so now we're done with the Gruyere making part, and now we add the wine. So all cheese fondues have white wine in them, which is I think what makes it taste so good. So it's 1 cup of a dry white wine, and you add it into the blender and continue to blend until smooth. This is the Frey Vineyards Chardonnay. It's organic, and all of Frey Vineyards wines are vegan because they don't use any animal-based fining agents. So, good to know. Blend it up. Oh my god, it like smells like fondue. Oh my god, it's very, very wine tasting. Now you could either put it on the stove in a double boiler, or you could put it straight in the fondue pot and put the fondue pot on the flame to heat it up and thicken it. And this is where we're gonna add our tapioca starch and water mix. I am going to put it straight in the fondue pot. I just feel like, why not? Like, skip the step that would require more cleanup. Oh my god, it tastes like fondue. It tastes like actual cheese fondue. Holy shit. Paul's never tried cheese fondue before, so I'm so excited for him to try this.
I'm gonna get drunk off this.
I know. I feel like I am too.
It's good.
Do you like it?
Yeah. Is that what fondue tastes like? It tastes like wine.
Yeah, it tastes like wine mixed with cheese, I guess.
I wonder if people like it so much. It's really good.
I can't even believe that I'm making this. I can't believe it worked. I can't believe it's happening.
How long was it burn for?
Okay, taking my first bite of fondue. So I'm gonna put this, stick this on the fork real good. Look at that. Oh yeah, get that nice drip. Really good. Cheese fondue is back in my life. All right.
Sorry.
The fondue was really, really good. We both feel a little weird right now because we don't really drink, and the fondue had a cup of wine in it, and it was like so wine tasting. And I feel like I've never been that affected by wine and fondue before. I think it's because we like heated it in the fondue pot and it didn't really heat it that well, so I should have put it on the stove first, and then, can you tilt it down a little? So we should have put it in a pot on the stove to like heat it up first and like to do the tapioca starch part, because the thing is in here it didn't heat up that much, and so it didn't get that stretchy. So I think it needed like some real like stove heat. But overall it was really good. We both like kind of feel like a little sick, but not in the way that I would like normally feel sick after cheese fondue, where I'm like so full and I feel like, oh my god, like my stomach from like all the dairy. It's more like, oh my god, I haven't had wine in a really long time and I just drank like a half a cup of it. So next time I'd probably do a little less wine too. Like I think it only needed like a half a cup total, rather than like a full cup. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more forkable content. And thanks for joining me on this delicious journey of an adventure to making cheese fondue. See you next time. Bye.
Hey,
I'm Reduva lactose intolerant. Alright, stop.